Alright, hello everyone. What I'm gonna be doing in this video is try my best to teach you how to make this, a soda can stove. I found a couple of tutorials on my YouTube recommendations, became curious, and then just kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I ended up making about 30 of these in a month. And I had a couple of stumbles along the way, and I wanted to maybe try and share some of that knowledge. So what you're going to need for this tutorial are 2 cans. You could make a soda can stove with 1 can. I've tried that. It's not ideal. I haven't found a way to make it work well. Sometimes it comes out okay, sometimes it's just a complete failure. So for this one, we're just gonna stick with 2 cans. Make sure they are ideally the same brand and the same capacity. I don't know, you could try, I have tried also with same capacities but different brands, and what you figure out really quickly is that even though cans may look similar, they are very different. The construction, the angles, the wall thickness, the way everything is put together is different. So in order to get the best results, just use 2 cans that are the same capacity from the same brand. Before I move on, let me just apologize in advance. As you can no doubt tell, English is not my first language. I do my best. I apologize in advance. Some other tools that you're going to need. A multi-tool that contains a knife, a pair of, let me see if you can see that, a pair of scissors and pliers. You could get a multi-tool that has them. This is a Leatherman Wingman, or you could get the individual tools, that's okay too. A marker, permanent, a ruler, something to poke holes with. I have here a tack. It is not ideal. I would use a thumb tack. I had one, but it disintegrated on me. A bowl, because we're gonna, throughout the process, we're gonna make metal scraps, and they have a tendency to just go everywhere. So this is nice to keep the trash contained. And this here is the most important tool. A surface that it's not going to bend or flex or deform as you put weight on it, as you work with it. I just had a bunch of MDF boards, so I used that. You could use 2x4s, you could use any wood basically, and then you're going to have to find a way to secure a cutting tool to that surface. It doesn't have to be a utility blade like I have here, though that's the most common and most effective technique. You could even, like if you had an extra knife, you could find a way to probably just put that there and affix it. You're gonna have to get creative in a sense, but this is very important and really hard to get around. You're going to need this. You can make an effective soda can stove out of pretty much any size can. You can build them tall, you can build them, a little shorter. We need to construct 3 parts: the bottom, the top, and the inner wall. And I'm going to explain how that works. It's really interesting to understand the theory. And let's just get to it. decide which can is going to be the top. That means that which can is going to have the holes on it. Usually you want the nicest one for this. You're going to grab your marker. One of the steps is cutting out this part, but you don't want to cut out right. I've seen some people cut out right next to the lip. You don't want to do that. So you're going to make a line a little ways inside the lip. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a guide, kind of like that. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. So we can go and put either 8 holes or 16 holes on our cans. You can try with more, you can try with less, you can try with bigger holes, smaller holes. You can mess around with the spacing. You know, I had some bigger ones here, smaller ones, all of that. You can get creative, but for now, we're gonna keep it simple. So we're gonna find roughly the middle point, and we are going to use our marker to put a line there. We're gonna turn the can 90 degrees, and we are gonna do the same. Now it's just a matter of taking your thumbtack or tack and just punching a hole. I would recommend that you don't go too far to any edge. Just kind of keep it in the middle, like so. So now we only have 4, but we said between 8 and 16. So how do we get there? You just eyeball it. This isn't perfect. It's not going to be perfect. There are templates that you can download and print out, and then you have to kind of stick them over. Yeah, sure, you could try that. I never seen the need. So now we just split the difference. So we keep splitting the difference until we get the amount of holes that we need. Okay, so we have the amount of holes that we want now, either 8 or 16, or whatever you want. I recommend between 8 and 16. Now we need to cut off the center. Go very, very slowly until you get the hang of it. I made like 30 of this, and somehow I didn't cut myself or anything, and I'm kind of clumsy. So if I could get through this unscathed, no doubt you can do the same. You're gonna take your knife. What you're gonna want to do is this line, this outline that we drew here, is to give us something to guide our knife. And as we start scoring the aluminum, the actual mark is going to pop out a lot more than if you just had the bare aluminum there. So this is actually kind of important. You could freehand it. Maybe you're super awesome at this, but I need this. So I found that drawing the knife to you with your dominant hand and kind of moving the can as needed with your non-dominant hand is the best technique. There is my score mark. I do recommend that you go easy at first. Don't put too much pressure. Just make a light impression the first go around, and then gradually increase the pressure until you get like 3 revolutions. And now to pop this out, all you're going to do is drive your knife close to the edge. Kind of rocking it helps a little bit. And once you get that little split right, so once you get the slit up to where the edge is, all you do is grab your knife and very carefully pry the center out, just like so. Now, using the pliers, you can slightly twist and pull. There we go. And we are pretty much done with that. Whoops. Now we are going to cut our cans. This is actually super easy. This is really important. Make sure again that your cutting tool is completely solid, as well as your cutting base. You don't want any of this to move even fractions of a millimeter. So that's why you shouldn't work on top of a cutting mat or anything like that. Grab your can and push it against the blade, and you're just going to turn it. Initially, what you're going to do, you're just going to turn it very gently, and the blade is going to bite when it's the right time. So don't just push against it. This is more of a patience thing than a strength thing. So all right, so this is what you want. You want the blade to bite into the can, right? Like so. So once you got that, you are good to go. You just push against that, pop, pop, pop. And there you have your top half. Now we repeat the process for the bottom half. All right, so now we have our bottom half and our top half. We need to crimp our inner wall. I'm sorry, our top half. And we're gonna use the pliers for that. So what you do is you grab, I'd say about less than a centimeter into the edge, and you turn to the right if you're looking at the can, and you're gonna make about 16 of these little crimps. There we go. That's what you want to end up with. The inner wall is really easy to make. By the way, I should say this right now. A lot of the tutorials mention that, you know, the top half and the bottom half need to have different heights and whatever, and then the inner wall has to have, like, it was kind of complicated, and I didn't get the best results out of that. So the method that I use is just basically the top and bottom half are the exact same height. You know, the end result is absolutely adequate. The inner wall, though, needs to be a little higher than the bottom half, right? So the trick that I use here, I grab my marker, I place it against my board, and just that usually elevates the tip about 5 millimeters or so, and that is more than enough to get the correct height. Place one of the cans that we cut side down, and just make a little mark like so. So the inner wall is probably the most important part of the entire system, so we're gonna be as gentle and precise as we can here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our scissors and we're going to cut the inner wall. That's why we drew a line, to have a guide, because this needs to be as precise as possible. And now, very carefully, just we take our time and we cut this. Alright, so this is what you end up with. Now we need to size this. Roll it up, put it inside the bottom half, and we sit it inside the groove. And we make it tighter, as tight as we can. And once we have it as best we can, we score gently both walls. I mean, the part that overlaps, we score that with our scissors. We go back to our marker and ruler. We are going to measure half of this. Do the same for the other side. Now you're going to cut up to the halfway point on one side and then the opposite side, like so. Alright, so now you should be able to overlap and slot the wall into itself. And I don't know if you can see that, but I need to cut a little deeper. Let's see now. Perfect. The next thing that we do is this extra material. We don't need it, so we're going to cut about 1.5 centimeters away from there. All right, we are nearly done. We now need to cut the whipping holes. That's such a dramatic name, but that's the name that I found for them, the whipping holes. So really quickly, let me explain how the soda can stove actually works. You have two walls here, right? And when you put alcohol in there, those holes in there are going to make the alcohol travel to the inside the inner wall, right? And once this entire structure heats up, the alcohol in there is going to turn from a liquid into a gas. That's going to ignite and is going to pop out of these burner holes exactly like a gas stove would. The most important part of the inner wall is the top. So for the top, we're going to use the part that we cut using our tool, because that's the most precise. For the part that needs to have the whipping holes, we can just use the part that the bottom that we cut using our scissors, and we can tell those apart because it should have a little bit of a marker line still on there. So now we cut the whipping holes. They are just a little triangle notch. Do not go too big. When in doubt, just keep it small. I'd say the height of this is around 4 or 5 millimeters, give or take. What I like to do is I like to cut two right next to the part where the wall joins, then cut one immediately across the seam and just another 2 on the sides, kind of again splitting the difference. There you go, that's your inner wall. And now assembling this is really easy. You're going to place the inner wall with the whipping holes down, place the top inside the bottom. This part is kind of critical. You don't want to use too much force. You don't want to have to brute force anything. There will be some resistance, but take your time. You'll figure it out. Just go very slow. Try to push evenly. There we go. And I am not quite there yet, but I just wanted to stop because just wanted to show you that you can kind of put your finger in there and work out anything that needs to be worked out. You could probably use a tool, but now we need to make sure that the inner wall snaps into this groove. Again, just very gently push down, very slowly. Aha! Sometimes you get a nice snap and sometimes you don't. You know you're there when you put your finger against the inner wall and it's tight, it's not loose, right? So you're done. There you go. So I'm gonna be showing you how to light the stoves. You just put whatever amount of alcohol you want in them, not too little. There's a minimum, but you know, about 10-15 milliliters at least. And then you just light them with a match, with a lighter, wherever you like. I'm doing voice over this, so it may sound funky. I apologize for my less than perfect kitchen, but you light them up and they need to heat up, and once they heat up the burner jets will turn on. There we go. Some take longer, some take less. That's going to depend on several things like design, altitude, temperature, all of that, but you get the idea. And none of these need any priming pans like some others often do. What you'll see me do in a moment, if some of your jets are not on, you can just blow across the stove or fan it with your hand, and that'll help the stragglers come on, though they usually just come on by themselves when it's time. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you want to use them outdoors, you're going to probably have to figure out a way to construct some sort of windscreen or windshield. What I've done in the past is I've dug a hole in the ground and just kind of put them there. That works quite alright. And honestly, there's really not too much to tell. Let me know again if this helped you. I hope it has. But I just wanted to get this out there, get it to you. They will boil water, you can cook on them. So yeah, let me know if this video was helpful to you. If you have any ideas, recommendations. I am just a guy. I don't have like a YouTube channel. I don't want to be famous or anything. I just wanted to get something that's fun, interesting, and potentially useful out there, just in case it helped you. So thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed this.